It is on the History Channel, which is a bit awkward.
I do. That was my sense, actually. I mean, I don't have real evidence for you on that, but my sense was like the majority really do believe.
Professor Seager, before we get into Venus, the serious stuff, I can't have you on. It would be remiss of me not to ask you about another topic. So an aside straight away. But you were a scientific expert on the show Ancient Aliens, which is a show that me and my friends very much enjoyed watching while we were in Cambridge. Okay. Perhaps not for the scientific merit, but more for the way they took a nugget of science and then expanded it out wildly to some potential suggestion.
If you look at the Ben stone, sometimes it is described or depicted with people coming out of this stone. Now, to me, this looks very similar to a lunar module.
How did you find yourself on that show, and how did you enjoy being the scientific expert on Ancient Aliens?
All right, well, I have to say that I started on the show at the very first pilot.
Yeah.
Where they assured me they were interviewing half proponents, half opponents.
Okay. For
a balanced view.
Yeah.
I know that's hard to believe, but that's what they did. I believe they did interview all those people. But when I watched the pilot, it was, 97% proponents of the ancient alien theory, and then 3% me and one other person who were on for about 30 seconds. So I interviewed for the show for a while until one of my students just said, he almost basically said he was ashamed to see me on the show. So I thought, okay, I better reevaluate here. So I gave it one last go.
Yeah.
Where when they asked me a question, I said everything all in one breath so they couldn't cut and paste. And then at some point later, I saw the show and they still cut it off.
Yeah.
So they would say, well, actually, no, I don't really have a great example, but yeah, so I'm not on the show now. But what I would do is if someone, an esteemed colleague, a scientist or anyone in science, such as yourself, would say, wow, why are you on this show? I'd say, why are you watching it?
Exactly. So there's no clean hands in the plague pit. No, we used to enjoy it a lot, but it would be like a sensible discussion about how gold is useful in space travel or something, which, is perfectly acceptable scientific point. It's reflective, it's conductive. Perfectly acceptable scientific point, but then suddenly 2 seconds later you're talking about that means an alien civilization came to Earth and created alien human hybrids to mine gold for their spaceships.
So they would ask me, so what do you think about gold? And I would say, well, gold is very useful on Earth because, and then they would cut it off at gold is very useful, and it would just sort of cut off. So yeah. So I'm not on the show now, so the one good thing about it is I'll always look much younger forever because you do sign away the rights, obviously, of everything they're filming, so they can recycle over and over again. So if you see me today, it's from many years ago. So that's the nice thing.
Amazing.
Always preserved young.
Very, 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 very interesting. No, I love the way they used to just take that nugget of science, and then suddenly you were away in fantasy by some very, very loose link.
Right. But to their credit, they started out with the best intentions to really think about the ancient alien theory itself.
Yeah.
And really, interview historians, as well as the people who love the theory, people who have reasons against it. And they did really start out, but I think it just took a life of its own.
I think people enjoyed watching it more for like we did, in a sort of ironic, this is crazy and kooky way, and maybe the audience ended up deciding the direction.
I know. Well, do you think that the majority of the people are watching it not for entertainment value, but because they really love it and they take it seriously? Yeah.
Do you think so? I mean, we used to watch it for... How do you think that breaks down? Because we were watching it for the fun aspect and the crazy aspect of it. Do you think most people watch it? It is on the History Channel, which is a bit awkward.
Right. I do. That was my sense, actually. I mean, I don't have real evidence for you on that, but my sense was like the majority really do believe.
Interesting. So it's...
Once, by the way, I heard from Giorgio himself. He actually reached out to me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did he... you can't leave that just as is. You've got to expand that for us if you can.
Yes, well, it was really a very nice exchange. He actually asked me a question on relativity.
Oh, okay.
And although I forget special relativity, I'm sure you've taken class in that, or you you could kind of, we could all, if you've done an undergraduate in physics, you can kind of go Wikipedia level and explain it to people.
Yeah.
He mostly wanted to know, and I know you know the answer to this, but how fast you have to travel, how close to the speed of light would one have to travel to have all the special effects happen, like time dilation and things like that.
Yeah.
And when I explained it to him, like I may have put the formula and I showed a graph and then I explained it in words. He was genuinely surprised.
The gamma graph, which is going up.
Right. You have to be incredibly close to the speed of light, like so close it's not really feasible in any way.
Yeah.
And he accepted it, actually. He liked the reasoning and he thanked me and he said, wow, that's so helpful. And I think he got that you can't just sort of go fast. It has to be, wow, like not.
Well, that would explain why we didn't introduce those effects in the first instance, because they're obviously not speeds that we're used to dealing with. But he does come across, and most of the people on there come across as nice people. They don't come across as nasty people. Him in particular is he's sort of like a big teddy bear, it seems. And obviously now he's got his own meme, and it's taken as you say, it's taken on a life of its own.
Well, the show did really well for him. It really did. So, and Georgie was like so good on camera. Yeah. And I feel like that had a lot to do with it, because the scientists they were interviewed this anthropologist. Everybody was so serious and academic-like, and that doesn't sell, Giorgio sells.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think partly why it took off a life of its own in the wrong direction.
Just because the sort of showmanship and the sort of memeability of it sort of took over. Showmanship
and that like really outgoingness, that's the personality of non-academics, and those who went in academia, a lot of us anyway, were just sort of more quiet and not really like, and I feel like, too serious and that. And so I feel like that helped a lot for that side, not just the hype or the, it was kind of a crazy thing. So I did it for a while, and then I tried, like I said, I honestly tried one last time. Make sure that whatever I said was not like, well, magnetic fields are, and
commonly associated with alien spacecraft visiting the Earth. Yeah, it's.
I feel after a while they sort of abused me, because like they took advantage of me in a way, because they needed the MIT professor. I was like the last holdout of anyone legit who would be on the show.
I remember there was yourself, and then was it a guy from UC Davis or a kind of.
Okay, he must have come later, but they need people from university just to sort of validate the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I don't know if the show's still being made, but they recycled my material for so long because they can, right? They own that material. And that's why I was making that joke. Like, you'll understand later when you're way older, but it's funny when you're like, you're just young forever now, because that's.
No, it's we used to watch it, and it was just, like I say, we would be like, okay, that's really interesting. That's actually quite an interesting observation. Like, I'll have to look into that a little bit more. And then 30 seconds later, suddenly they're coming to get the gold from Pluto, because the Pluto is dying and they live in the heart of Pluto, and to mine the gold instead of using machines because they're so incredibly advanced to be able to get from Pluto, somehow they're using genetically engineered cows for some reason. It's just like, it just doesn't make any sense. Or like they're building monuments out of stone when they're so advanced. Obviously they've been using metal and electronics and such, but they decide to use stone for some unknown reason. I was just like this, but we enjoyed it just for the sort of the comedic value of it.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad.
No, it was. I don't think there's certainly no reason to be ashamed. And as you say, you've told us that you went in with the best intentions, and and as you said, it's that friction, isn't it, between the serious science and getting it out there to a wider audience. You have to do a little bit of showmanship and razzle dazzle, and unfortunately it looks like that overtook the serious initial mission.